Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here, Pro Physique. And what I wanted to talk about today is not being cheap. Where not to cut costs and get cheap regarding a competition. Alright guys, so it's Monday, it's the day of the solar eclipse. I know a lot of you are all siggity psyched, getting ready to go out there and look at the sun. Hopefully you got all your glasses. If you don't, I think the news media has told us enough times not to look at the sun. I have my adulting shirt on today, so you know that you can really trust my advice here. It is not a good thing. But, right? Apart from the solar eclipse and the hoopla that's going on with that today, I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of people can sort of get into competing and try and sort of forget about or get away from. Or not necessarily know where they, places that they should or shouldn't try to cut costs. So again, today's all about not being cheap, right? So we want to talk about places that we don't want to cut costs when we're looking at getting ready on stage. The first one I think is really easy, and it's no surprise coming from a coach, that you shouldn't cut your costs when selecting a prep coach. And so just because somebody is more expensive does not mean that they're necessarily better or that they're worse than another coach. However, if you see a coach, maybe they're just a local coach at your gym, maybe they're cheap because they haven't had a lot of competitors that they've brought to the stage. Maybe they haven't competed themselves, right? Maybe they've competed themselves plenty of times. Maybe they have brought plenty of other competitors to the stage looking great, and they're still affordable. So, don't cheap out, but also don't think that you're getting a better service simply because you're paying more, because that is not always the case, right? One of the other big things where I see people that they want to cut costs concerning a show is putting in the time with the coach either before or after a show as well. I get a lot of people that come to me looking to start a contest prep. And I will be honest with you, I probably talk more people out of starting a prep than I talk into it and encourage into it. Not completely, but at the very least in the short term. This being because when we look at things like what are you maintaining your weight at calorically speaking, right? If I'm maintaining my weight at 1,400 calories, we do not have very much room to go with in terms of cutting calories, even if you're a very small female at that point. If you're a male of my size and you're maintaining at 1,400 calories, we have a lot of work to do, and competing should not even be on the radar. So we want to set ourselves up to be successful in a prep. That means doing pretty minimal cardio. You can be doing some for overall health, but in general, if you're a physique athlete, you want to be maintaining weight, doing the least amount of cardio possible, and eating the most amount of calories possible. So a lot of people need a reverse diet and to work their way into starting themselves off in a very good place, right? We don't want to start prep off in a place that's dangerous. We're going to have to push harder, we're going to have to push longer, and we're going to be chancing not getting to where we want to be on stage. And getting on stage is a very long, time-consuming process, right? So most people on the short end are dieting for 12 weeks or 3 months. That's a lot of time to invest into something, to be consistently working on one goal, right? And it's not an easy goal either. Dieting's not easy. It's mentally tough. It takes a lot of self-control and dedication to the process. So the better of a starting place that we can set ourselves up in, the better that overall experience is going to be. Remember, we want competing to be a positive experience. We want you to be happy that you chose to get on stage. We want you to be happy with how you look and as happy as you can be with the process, right? So now that doesn't always translate to we have to have an easy prep, because some people, we do have to bring the hammer down. We have to go hard, and depending what you're wanting to bring, how competitive you're wanting to be, those are all different variables that are going to change. But the other end of the spectrum is the same as well. We see a lot of people who put on a lot of weight post-show. And so being able to realize that having that coach there to take care of your reverse diet and to make sure that we're bringing you out of the show to where we get you back to a maintainable living place without putting on a ton of body fat and a ton of weight is important as well, right? Can we stay stage lean? Sort of. Should we stay stage lean? Certainly not, right? We also do not want to leave ourselves in the position where we have gone so far over stage weight now, though, that we need to take dieting phases and reversing phases over and over again before we're even ready to look at competing again. Not simply in the fact of long-term and short-term goals, but in the facet of health, right? So when you're looking at a coach, those are costs that you want to keep in mind and you don't want to cut. These are very important parts of the process. Like I said, depending where you are, you might be in a very good spot where you do not need to reverse or to build up into a better place to start a diet. But that's something that your coach should be discussing with you beforehand while you're talking about goals and where you want to go and what you're looking to do. So that kind of covers my coaching aspect. What about the stage aspect? Now, when you are getting ready to be on stage, especially if you are a bikini athlete, right? Men's physique, you're going to have a lot of these same issues too, because your presentation, how you look, your smile, your face, your hair, all these things, you know, how you uphold yourself on stage, your Rico Suave feel. And so your stage presence, how you look overall, matters in the judging criteria, right? So each judge might have a little bit different of a preference, but overall we want to make sure that we bring a high quality in general. So one place not to cheap out. Guys, you got lucky on this. Sorry, ladies. We just don't have to spend as much on suits. But ladies, don't cheap out on your suit. Be conscious of how well you absorb a tan, what the judges, based on what you want to do, are looking for, right? Do girls in darker color bikinis normally do well in that region? Are you seeing a lot of girls in a red bikini, right? So what looks good with your hair color, what's going to make you look the best, right? Guys, at the same point, there are some things that you want to look at in shorts. Although I feel like there is a lot more wiggle room in physique with shorts, and you can be very simple with it and still get away with it. The tan. Now this is a really big one because you can cheap out on your tan and have it done off-site. The problem with that is if you need touch-ups, depending on the tanning company, you might not get them. And if they're using a different product, it's going to be a different color. When you go to a show, you are paying those tanning people to make sure that you are on point for that show. So paying the tanning people that are at the show is normally your best bet. And then the tanning people that are going to be at the show differs from what region you're in. But for us in the NPC Central, a lot of the time it's hot spot. They do a very good job, right? A lot of people tend to be scared to ask them to do more touch-ups or to do another coat. Like, that's what they're there for. That's why we're paying the extra money to have them deal with our tan. Because the last thing we need is a splotchy or a bad-looking tan when we get on stage that goes with our amazing physique or whatever other amazing facets that we have brought to the show, right? We don't want anything to take away from our package as a whole. The tan is a very easy thing that can do that if you cheap out or you are not very direct with what you need from the tanners, right? One of the other things that, and this is big for ladies, is hair and makeup, right? You can do it yourself, but if you are not skilled enough to do it yourself, if you don't have the time to do it yourself, you might be better off paying whoever is doing it through the show. Again, this is one of your total package things, right? If you are in bikini, this definitely matters. Your overall look is part of how you're judged. So, sometimes it makes sense to put the extra money out. Again, this is one of those things. You've already invested a lot of money. You've already invested a lot of time. You've already invested a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. The last thing that you want is to hear something from the judges on something small that was an easy fix that took their attention away from your physique, right? Hair and makeup is just one of these things. Alright? My last one for the stage right now is your stage necessities. Ladies, this means a little bit different kind of things for you than it does from the guys, but make sure that you are set up to do everything you need to do, that you can use the bathroom without messing up your tan, right? Simple thing. But something that needs to be thought of on show day. That you have a cooler or a lunch bag that your stage day food can stay in, where you're not going to, again, mess up your tan, where it's going to be easily accessible. It's going to keep your food cold. It's going, like, these are all very small things that, once again, your coach should be prepping you for, but you just don't want to, like, really chance it on these things, right? So just making your life easy on show day to make it as smooth as a process as possible. Again, stress is something that you should always be thinking about, so you want to stay as de-stressed as possible. Putting some money into those show day accessories and necessities is going to allow for us to make it a smoother transition and an easier process for you to go through. And this one, now, it's very stage, very, very focused on stage, but it's something that you put in a lot before stage, and that is your posing. Now, I have always understood the importance of posing, but I understand it to an even stronger degree now that I have seen the difference that Paul's girls have brought to the stage after working with Lauren. This is why I cannot, stress enough the importance of posing, of poise, of stage presence, and practicing those things. If you don't know who Lauren Conlon is, Lauren Conlon, she's an IFBB pro. She went to USF. I actually met her while I was in the undergrad program there. She works with us very closely at Pro Physique. She's on Redefine Healthy Radio. If you know who I am, you obviously know who she is. But by some reason you don't, check her out. She puts out a lot of great content, and she's kind of a wonderful person. But the difference that she helps bring in on these bikini athletes is, like, you can't place a value on it. She's pretty affordable, if you ask me. She's actually very affordable. And you can consult with her on Skype. But she has such a detail-oriented eye that she sees very small changes that you can make in your posing to really accentuate and bring out the best of your physique. So she knows what the judges are looking for, and she knows how to bring the best package when you're on stage. Practicing your posing, putting in the time, and put it beforehand so that you're not up there looking funky on stage last minute. I have messed with my posing last minute. I have not used posing coaches. I have not gotten feedback from people with a trained eye. And here's what happens. You go on stage, you make mistakes, you see your stage shots, and you're like, wow, now I see why I placed the way I did. And it's not a fun thing to do. Remember, you're not on stage a very long amount of time. For most of us, it's reasonably short, especially in consideration to the amount of time that we put in prepping and getting ready and preparing for this show. So the last thing we want is something that was more than within our power or to handle and to improve upon and to have ready, that we just overlooked or didn't take care of for some reason or another. So there are, Lauren is by no means the only posing coach, but she is a very good posing coach, and she is the one that I always refer my female athletes out to for posing. Whereas those are my big ones. Those are the big things that I say don't cut costs on. There are some things that we can cut costs on, and I will cover those at a later date and time. But until then, guys, enjoy the eclipse. Don't look at the sun. Don't go blind. Have a great week.